minutes, and I'll walk you through a streamlined system you can repeatedly use to finish your tracks and why it's the easiest way to take your ideas from start to finish. If you want the free Notion template that I'm about to show you, just comment workflow down below and I'll happily send it over to you. Hey yo, I'm Alex from Metamind Music. I'm a musician and certified audio engineer here to help you finish music that you're proud of. I help music artists compose, produce, and mix their own professional sounding tracks by using a repeatable creative process. And my goal is that in every single video, you're going to get actionable advice that you can immediately implement to help you level up as a music creator. All right. So again, in the next 10 minutes, I'll walk you through this whole streamlined system that you can use to repeatedly finish your tracks and show you why it's also the most effective path to take your ideas from A to Z. All right. So let me know in the comments if you've ever struggled finishing tracks, if you got a ton of tracks that are just in the hard drive graveyard. All right. And this is a very common problem with music producers. I've been there many times. And the first thing I want to talk about is why finishing tracks is actually difficult in the first place. And the reason is that in the process of being a modern music maker who's composing things, producing the track, mixing the track, even mastering the track, and doing all of the stages of the production process, we're doing effectively what a whole team of people used to do, right? There used to be producers, studio engineers, audio engineers. You might have studio musicians. You might have producers helping you write the song. You'd have mixing engineers, mastering engineers. You'd have a marketing agency, right? It would all be a whole different team of people doing this one thing. So when we're an independent music maker, right, when you're creating your own music to release, you're playing all of these roles, okay? And that's one of the reasons why it's so difficult, is because each of these roles not only has a different skill set attached to them, but they also have a very different perspective on the music, okay? The artist sees the music slightly different than the producer would, and also the engineer would see it in a different frame than the artist, right? Back in the day. And for us, we kind of got to do it all. And a lot of the time we do it all at the same time. We're producing, we're mixing, and we're writing songs all at the same time with no rhyme or reason. And this is part of the issue, is because we're kind of mixing these roles and we're not giving them enough time to have their own framing and their own focus around the music. The other reason is that our brains, when it goes through the creative process, actually goes through different modes of thinking. So let me break that down for a second. A mode of thinking, what is that? Basically, our brains function in different modes, right? Like similar to if you have like push 2, push 3, or hardware controller, you can change modes. If you're using Ableton or DAW, you can be in different modes. It's the same thing in your brain, okay? And basically, there's a lot of different things and different ways that our brains work, but the big kind of ideas is divergent thinking, convergent thinking, and emergent thinking, okay? And basically, what's important about this is that your brain can't actually be functioning in two modes at the same time, okay? We can fool ourselves into thinking we are, but what we're actually doing is similar to multitasking, is we're switching back and forth between modes of thinking very, very quickly, but you can't actually be doing both at the same time, okay? And throughout the creative process, okay, we are changing from divergent thinking, which is more of a brainstorming type of thinking, exploring possibilities. Think of it as yes and. You're not judging ideas. You're just brainstorming and seeing what ideas can come up. Okay, and then from there, convergent thinking is actually eliminating ideas and coming up with solutions for a specific result or solving a specific problem. Okay, so in that frame of thought, you're not so much brainstorming, you're more so deciding what ideas and what combination of ideas are going to solve a particular problem. And then finally, emergent thinking is basically taking already existing ideas, okay, and looking at what new interesting insights you can gain by overlapping these pre-existing ideas, okay? And I'm sure that if you've been making music for a while, or even if you're new to this, that you can see that in the creative process, we move through these different forms of thought, okay? And the second thing I want to cover is why I use a system and why I am a stickler about it. I teach it to my clients. It's a huge part of what I do. And well, why use a system? A lot of people might be like, music shouldn't have a system, all this kind of stuff, right? But really, a system is more for you than the actual music, okay? It keeps you consistent in showing up. It helps you frame your thinking in terms of the different roles that you're playing as your song goes from just an idea to a composition, to a finished production, to a finalized mix. And it also prompts you to have the right form of thinking for different session types. Okay, so I actually want to go ahead and share my screen here for this Notion template. Again, if you want to grab this Notion template, just comment down below. I'll shoot it your way. And this is essentially a breakdown of the entire system that I use and that I teach my clients. And it's essentially a system that helps frame your thinking all the way from your first ideas and like what musical direction you want to go, all the way to a finished master. Okay, so let's actually break this down a little bit and why this is so powerful. The reason why a system is powerful is that it keeps you consistent, like I said, but more importantly, it lays out a clear path for you forward to finish your tracks. And as simple as it might seem, one of the simple reasons that people like struggle to finish music is because they have no clear path on how to finish music. Okay, so I'm not going to go into all of these stages. Let me know if you want to learn more about this. But again, if you grab the template, you'll be able to see all this stuff. But essentially, we're giving ourselves the space to explore each of these different ways of interacting with your music so you can fully immerse yourself in that type of thinking, that perspective as you move it forward. And it gives you a clear pathway to finishing a track, okay? Because it's laid out for you. And this isn't so much shackles and chains in terms of like a formula or a specific workflow. It's more of stages of operation and development as you start to explore ideas, as you start to define what direction you want to go, as you start to make compositions, etc. Okay. And basically, to break this system down real quick, we're designing instruments and finding the sounds and getting an idea for the aesthetic and what direction we want to go musically. Okay. So we're limiting our options right off the bat, and we're kind of creating those intentional limitations so we can be more creative and also eliminate the unnecessary like zillions of options that are available to you, and making conscious decisions as to what we're going to use in the form of expressive instruments, okay, which are so amazing. If you think about like playing a guitar through a guitar pedal or something, a pedal board, or even just playing a plugin that you like mapped to a MIDI controller with a bunch of effects that you can play in real time, something like that is what would be an expressive instrument. Then from there, once you've designed those things, you're allowing yourself to brainstorm, to 100% divergent thought with no editing, okay? You're not really thinking about what kind of part you're creating. You're just letting it flow and you're capturing everything. Okay. So you're trying to avoid judgment, avoid quality judgments, avoid expectation, and just allow yourself to flow with these instruments and record the output. And the truth here is that most of what you make won't be that great. And that's totally okay, because that's part of any healthy creative process. Okay. But by virtue of doing that, and by just allowing yourself to create without too much judgment and just musical brainstorming, right? Then you're going to notice that a small percentage of your ideas are significantly stronger than the rest without having to have worked harder on them, right? And then from there, we take those ideas, and instead of right away rushing into like making a song, okay, we're going to allow ourselves the space to continue to brainstorm. But now, instead of just intuition and flowing without direction, we're going to experiment with ideas on how we can develop these ideas further. Okay, so basically you're taking already good ideas, and now we're going to start going deeper with those ideas with different variations, things like inversions, shortening notes, lengthening notes, coming up with new phrases, applying what's happening in one instrument or section or part to another, etc. These types of experiments to see where your ideas can go, and hopefully to uncover the basic essence of a song, okay, without necessarily having the pressure to having to create a song, right? You're just allowing yourself the space to experiment with those ideas. And by reducing this expectation, right, you can actually allow yourself to explore things deeper, right? And do more, because you're not having expectation as to what result is going to happen, right? You're just seeing what happens. Okay. And if you do this enough with ideas that are above average, you'll notice that some ideas will naturally be begging you to be composed into an arrangement, while other ones you might not be sure where it's going. And that's totally cool. Right. So from there, we're only moving ideas forward that are easier to compose, or that it's pretty obvious what the shape or the arc or the structure wants to be to deliver a composition, right? Or an experience to the listener. And then from there, you're allowing yourself to now start to get a little bit more convergent. Okay. So up to now, we've kind of been just exploring possibilities and brainstorming. Okay. But now we're starting to converge and starting to be like, okay, now we need to make a structure. We need to tell a story. We need to have sections, right? And that's solving a specific problem. And then from there, I do more rough arrangements, which is basically not pressuring yourself to make it perfect, just an idea for a track, get it done, right? And then from there, you can get more volume and again, see the best compositions. And then from there, we get more and more and more convergent as we continue to move towards the end. You're allowing yourself the space to edit, re-record parts, add in sound design, new layers, automation, all that great stuff to really finesse your composition and make it the best production possible. Then from there, moving on to the mix, right? And at this point, your production's already going to sound amazing. It's already going to be 80, 85% of the way there. So then you just focus on that last 15%, making it really jump out of the speakers, frame the composition with a nice aesthetic, sonic aesthetic, wherever you want to go. And then finally capping it up with mastering. And again, the reason why I think that this is the best way to approach learning music production, finishing tracks, is that it keeps you accountable, right? It actually lays it all for you in front of you. And all you have to do is follow these stages in your own way, develop your own relationship with them, and that will really help you kind of finish more music. Okay. So essentially, again, a lot of people will wait until they learn all of this stuff. They learn everything about mixing. They learn everything about mastering. They learn everything about composition, which is, they're all endless rabbit holes before being able to make music. But I'm telling you right now, you already have what it takes to make amazing music. And you're much better off to be learning the process of music production through making music instead of trying to learn information and knowledge before being able to make music. Okay. So that's basically all I got for you today. Just wanted to break that down and what's been helpful for me to finish more tracks as well as my clients. Again, if you want this template that breaks down all of these stages in detail, it has a song tracker where you can track your projects in this system. You can put them on the calendar and it walks you through step by step, each stage, what to do, what the action items are, etc., etc., etc. Okay. So again, if you want that, comment down below. And that's what I've got for you today. Again, I'm going to be doing a lot more live streams with just quick shots of tips. This one's more of an overarching kind of conversation idea, but I'm going to go into specific actionable things that can help you. So if you want to see something in particular, if there's a problem that you're facing, if you have a burning question about music production, feel free to comment it down below and I'll be happy to do another stream talking about it. All right. So with that said, I will leave you and love you and I'll see you in that next video.